Yeah, let's get into this. PAX Day.
We had the pleasure of getting a brand new MMO revealed. This
Imagine that.
happens very rarely, so
True.
when it does, it's
What was so crazy about this one was the fact that it just kind of happened out of nowhere. And
Yeah.
also it was so good.
Kind of like Quinfall.
quite the event.
Kinda
for
like
fans
Quinfall.
of the genre. The game was called PAX Day, and according to its
But at least
developers,
PAX Day has more of a backing, right? Like you have like Blizz employees that are there. You have I think League of Legends devs that are there. So you have notable, and then you have notable investors, I believe. I don't want to name any because I'm not sure exactly, but I do remember hearing that somewhere. Fact check me on that if I'm wrong, and post in the comments below. But yeah, this is apparently the next promising MMO aside from Ashes of Creation. Quinfall is supposed to come out. You heard me mention that before this year. But if you go to their YouTube page, there's really nothing there. So I've signed up for their alpha, I think it was. Hopefully we get in. If we do, I'll be streaming that. But yeah, there's not really a lot of info or videos on that game or, backers or anything that we really know about the company, I believe. So, we'll see. But at least we know that this game will actually be released and could possibly be a very good MMO. And if they're smart, they'll release before Ashes instead of being in competition with Ashes, and they may make some good money. Let's find out, though. I also signed up for this beta or alpha as well, so whichever one we get into both, we'll play both. But anyways.
vast social sandbox, low fantasy MMO inspired by the legends of the medieval era, with community and emergent gameplay at its heart.
I mean, this is what I'm all about. I love this. This is some fucking
True.
Fellowship of the Ring shit here.
True.
Oh, man.
Wow, actually, well said.
Now, initial reception for both of its reveal trailer and developer deep dive were very positive.
Yeah.
Each video has like
happy.
hundreds and thousands of views and is full of comments expressing interest in the game.
Yeah.
As for the game, what do we know? Well, the reveal did give us a few of the basics. It's an open world player.
Yeah, I think we know the
sandbox MMO. The core loop of the game
size
will
of it.
involve the typical gathering materials, crafting weapons and armor, and building bases. We'll start in a region of the world known as the Heartlands, where we are free to build and craft in relative safety, and then, once we are prepared, we can venture out into the woodlands full of dangerous PvE enemies and the threat of other players, as the game does have PvP. We saw snippets of various systems.
Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty interesting to see what the difference is and like how PvP and PvE comes together in a game like this. I'm not really... Like, in general, my outlook on all games that have PvP, that are MMOs, is that every time that you make somebody PvP that doesn't want to, that's going to be a bad experience for that person. And they're going to be less likely to play the game afterwards because you're making them do something they don't want to do. And then, punishing them for not being good at it whenever they get killed by somebody else, it just kind of sucks, right? And it's, again, like, not like these people are in some cases bad PvPers. Yeah. This might be some...
It does suck for those people, but in like, at least for me, and every player is different, you want there to be like world PvP, because that was what was enjoyable in classic like WoW, or like even old school WoW, was world PvP. I mean, I remember like everybody sitting at Warsong Gulch instance, and like there being horde like coming to the town in Ashenvale, like where the instance was, and just having massive battles. And those are things that I remember to this day that happened back in like 2004 or 5. So I mean, those are very memorable moments. And I get what he's saying, because but to tailor the game for like a smaller group of people, unless it's now the majority, because there's a lot of people who just don't like PvPing. That just kind of sucks, and it takes away from like what a true MMO is. And you would think people like PvP because a lot of battle royales are really popular. So I mean, they're FPSs, but I mean it's like a similar concept, right? So I don't know. Maybe making like respawning easier or something. Instead of like run backs to your body, you can just do like your spirits on top of your body and you just spawn, right? Like, which might be cool or might not, because then the people that just killed you or person, now they have to react to you rezzing like immediately, unless there's like some timer, right, that gives them a chance to like full heal and get ready again, which is fair. But yeah, I think eliminating the nuisances of dying in PvP would help immensely. Or doing something like Ashes has, where there's like the corruption system. So if you kill too many people, it's like really bad for your character apparently. Um, but yeah, I don't know. World PvP is something that's like I think core to all MMOs and should definitely remain in MMOs. But yeah, that might not be what people want anymore. I don't know what people want, but I know that's what I want because those are where the memories are. Even if you get smacked on, like it's a memory. Because I remember getting camped like forever and having to log on to like a main character maybe and nuking this guy because he was camping my ult, right? And then it's like a game, right? It's like back and forth, like of you going on your main, him like disappearing for a while, then you go back on your alt and he finds you again, and then you go find him on your main. So it's cool. It's like not a lot of people want that kind of experience, but I would hope or imagine a lot of people do because I mean PvP is good. It's fun, PvE is fun too, like raiding and stuff, but I don't want to feel like I like feeling like I have to be on guard 24/7. Like I got to watch my back, like head on a 360-degree swivel like an owl. I want to feel like every moment in combat and out of combat there's a sense of danger, and whether it's from the NPCs themselves or from players, like I want to be able to feel that sense of urgency to defend myself. Because otherwise, it's like classic WoW now, where it's like you're on a 99% controlled or like populated horde server as a horde player, and you can literally have 1% HP, sit AFK in a zone for hours, and obviously by the time that you come back from AFK, you'll still be alive. It's like it doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, I don't know that, but everybody's different. Everyone has their own opinion, but that's my opinion.
Somebody who's like platinum or diamond in League of Legends, but they just don't want to PvP in this game. And so forcing somebody into it is, I think, always a bad idea.
And I mean, the way to fix that is PvP or PvE servers, because then if people really don't want a PvP, they can go on a PvE server. That's fine. But and then just have. I think it's always a good thing too to have fewer servers that can just handle more players, because then you have a lot more chances of seeing other people in the world to PvP with. Because if you're on a PvP server but it's a dead server, then you may as well be on a PvE server at that point, right? So yeah, I always thought that PvE, servers and PvP servers were the best thing for any game. I thought when WoW like did the thing where you can turn it on and off, it's fine, but you know.
But we're gonna have to see exactly what this game really is like, and like how much of that there really is, because again, it's always theoretical. So it's the same thing with conversations about Ashes of Creation.
Like the thing I'm saying is this, like, so in WoW, it's like, dang, there's like a group of 5 people that are near this area. I either change the layers or I just turn PvP off, and it's only like 10% bonus, so no big deal. Like if you're on a PvP server, you will go and create a group, right, of players. Now you have to look for people to do this quest with, or like go to this area. So it creates group activity, which is what an MMO is about. And it really, maybe not necessarily, I guess it does, it's kind of like either forces you to group up with people so you have an even advantage, or just, find more players in that group and just constantly wipe them until they give up and leave the area. Or you have to play super sneaky, and it's like, okay, quick, that group of 5 is like killing another group or like attacking another group. This is my chance to like get the mob kills and get the heck out of here. So you lose all of that strategy and group play when you can just press a button and up. You don't have to worry about anybody anymore. So again, that's why it's like, if you want to really have them separate, just make PvE server and then PvP servers, and that's pretty much it.
In the developer vid, there was some base building on display, a variety of different size and types of buildings, which include up to player-built cities. They have in fact said that every building in this game will be player-built.
That's cool.
Crafting stations with
That's insane.
Building in the game is
Yeah, like even the major
player-built.
cities.
What the fuck?
That's intense. Oh, cool though.
I wonder what that even is gonna be like.
Yeah.
Players making potions.
Yeah, is there like just NPCs in the towns, and they're like, oh, there's nothing here yet. Build this. With it, this town needs this. This town needs that, and then you build it. Right. The players contribute X amount of wood, iron, whatever, and then create the building. And then there's different like grades of it or whatever. That's really cool. As long as the NPCs are there originally, right, to give you quests to go collect the materials or whatever have you, I think that's great. Unfortunately, the people who don't play immediately probably miss out, or like maybe they're slower levelers and like they see maybe the first town be built, but they miss out on the other ones. That's unfortunate, but I guess that is how it is in a game like this. If that's how it ends up working. But yeah.
Armor.
Oh
we also saw refining stations like tanning racks and smelters. There were some shots of the UI, which showed us what looked to be work in progress equipment and inventory system. There was also a tab for skills implying some sort of character progression. And there were a few brief clips of combat with players hunting wildlife, during which I'll say gameplay animations look a bit rough, but given that this
it doesn't look that good.
Yeah.
Like the gameplay doesn't look great.
Yeah, there was lag, stutter. These are clips that if you're gonna present as a showcasing for the game, you want them to be perfect. You don't want to show something that little Timmy from the intern team decided to whip up after his weekend bender at Ultra Music Festival, right? So you want it to look really good and clean, and that looked very like it was like a stutter step with the deer there. It looked kind of weird. The boar attacking kind of looked a little unclean. So yeah, you want it to be perfect, and they really didn't deliver there. But the game's probably in its infancy. You I wouldn't say put all your eggs in one basket to say this game's going to be a huge hit, but have hope, and maybe they deliver. And definitely don't pre-order. Never pre-order games, please.
It looks great, but I mean, it's okay, great. This doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
This game, they haven't announced that it's launching anytime soon, and they've said that the combat is a placeholder. With all of that in mind, we'll cut the combat animations a little bit of slack.
Yeah.
They also discussed the game's use of fantasy, pulling from myths and fables from around the world. PAX Day will have magic, but it is going to be sparse. You won't be like spamming fireballs, for example. So that is a basic overview of what we learned about PAX Day during its reveal last month. Now, since then, tons of new information has come out through interviews.
Maybe just like big spells on longer cooldowns, I guess, and everybody has like one unique spell that they will use or something. I don't really know, but if you're a mage lover or caster lover out there, I guess, yeah, you're kind of getting the short end of the stick here.
AMAs, FAQs, as well as some idle chat over on the official Discord channel. We know much more about PAX Day than we did just a few weeks ago. We also know more about this. The sponsor of today's video, Tower of Fantasy. This is a free-to...
I was literally about to say those mushroom guys look like the game in Tower of the ones in Tower of Fantasy. That's actually fucking crazy. Because I was like, bro, now they know how it feels to steal, to be stolen from.
Play shared open world MMO. The game features a large explorable world where players can team up to fight. New map, the Grand Sea. This is the first underwater.
That's cool.
Tower of Fantasy. I
mean, we don't care about Tower of Fantasy.
Yeah, it's on Steam. Also, get on Steam. Not very good.
Oof. Yeah. But it was free. It did well in the beginning. I played it for a little bit.
But I do wonder how many people are actually playing it, because like Steam is not. I'd say maybe it's not like even half of the people that play it, but I'm not sure.
You can explore the Grand Sea Islands, the innards, and the Dragon Breath Volcano. There's also a new boss, Ebola, located in that volcano.
Wait.
Breath Volcano. There's also a new boss, Ebola, located...
His name's Ebola?
Oh, man.
That's good.
in
That's a
that
good one.
volcano, which presents a new group challenge for you to overcome. There are 2 new characters, Lan and Icarus. Lan uses an energy-laden umbrella as a weapon, while Icarus has an icy yo-yo ball. There's also new story quests taking you on an adventure through the whole new zone. There are new
How
events
beautiful.
like the Grand Sea Treasure Hunt, nitty-gritty new details that have come out on the game. As I mentioned, a lot of this new
Can we please add?
With this,
in the video
okay, let's
description
go back.
below. Okay, so now I want to dive into some of the nitty-gritty new details that have come out on
I
the
don't miss
game.
anything.
As I mentioned, a lot of this new
Can we please add Force Gaming to the list of people who's been sponsored by this fucking game? And I still haven't. This is fucking disgusting.
Tower Fantasy?
I can't believe this.
information comes from a few sources. There were a couple of developer interviews that were done, as well as a published FAQ and an ever-growing AMA with some very chatty developers over on the official Discord. Let's start off with the game's inspiration. They have said that PAX Day is filled with gameplay elements that borrow from all sorts of games, from the survival genre and games like Ark Survival Evolved.
Sure.
But maybe more so is that the game borrows heavily from things like the economic model of EVE when it comes to the fact that they use geography-based scarcity and having this dynamic marketplace. To quote the developer directly, they said, being an MMO, harvesting and crafting are core pillars of the experience in the game. But
I feel like a lot of these people, they're like devs for video games, or like designers, but they might not really play a lot of games. There are all the time people that have ideas of what would be really cool to have in a game, and then you put it in the game and it destroys the game. But theoretically, it sounds really cool if you don't think about how players will actually interact with it. So I always worry about that with new MMOs.
That's based. I have nothing to add to
in
that.
our world, the weapons, the armor, the construction pieces needed for your village, these are all items that are...
The devs look old and woke. So true, brother. Base.
There you go.
Fuck. Why are they woke? Because they're white? Like, what? What? Because they got glasses? Like, what?
It's a meme. It's obviously a meme.
What are you
It's a meme.
thinking?
It's a meme.
crafted and manufactured by the players themselves. So essentially, all of the things that you can gain access to in the world have been produced by someone else in the game. Having recently...
I love the idea of that.
Gone back to Albion Online, this is very reminiscent of what that game does. It's got this player-driven economy, but it's player...
Oh, because there was a woman.
Okay, now it's
That'll
getting,
do it, huh?
Now it's getting cringe.
fueled. Players touch every aspect of it. Anything that's involved in the trading system is something that a player either harvested, refined, or crafted themselves. And I think that makes for a real interesting experience, especially when layered on everything else. So the Heartlands, this is where things begin for us in the game. Players begin in these relatively high elevations among this green, foresty region known as the Heartlands. There, we will be working with other players in safety. We can, without much concern, build up small villages, join and create clans, plant crops, craft equipment, do some basic farming, gathering, hunting of wildlife, and the sight lines from where you are in the highlands are going to be very purposefully...
Yeah, I mean, that looks really nice, man. Like, I really like the visual of this. I think it's very, you know, it's very comfy.
Yeah.
I would want to build a house in this area.
It's not actual
This is
gameplay,
cool.
so... Right? It's not actual gameplay.
So you are elevated, and you can look down.
This looks just like art, so
as it kind of
I mean, it looks
goes
cool,
into
but
these
you
deep
need to see it in the
areas,
actual
these cavernous
game.
areas, these dense woodlands, and those are all places they've said you can go. It's like the Skyrim pitch, right? You see that mountaintop, you can go there. Well, in this case, you start off on the mountaintop, and you can go as far as the eye can see. What's even more interesting, though, is they say the different ways that they try to motivate players to get
That's
there.
cool. I like
because it
starting
does
from the
seem
top.
Like this is going to be a
The
game
mountaintop,
where
you look
further out
overlook
push, the
everything. It's a
more
beautiful
dangerous it
intro.
gets.
I like
And
that.
I quite like the structure that they're talking about with this game, where you start off in this like safe haven, you build yourself up, you do all of the basics, and then once you're feeling brave enough and you feel like you have your equipment and you're prepared, then you start pushing out, you push down into these dense wooded areas.
Just like any game, you know, you start in a safe place. There's not a lot of, you know, threat. You know, maybe the mobs are neutral or whatever. There's not a lot of them, right? And then it gets more complicated, kind of like, you know, going through a game trial, right? Like, so that's good. That's what you want.
and start the exploration.
Progression and
The
difficulty.
further you go away from the Heartlands, the more dangerous things get. It's a really cool kind of adventure-y promise. Now let's talk about
I mean, everything about this sounds really cool.
the questing. The game does not have a traditional MMO quest system. You are not
So you're grinding for mobs. Okay, got it. I played Black Desert. I understand that.
Ion.
Picking up quests from NPCs
too. Ion was
because,
a
as
grind.
mentioned, there are
Just
no
kill
friendly
60 of
NPCs
this,
in the
40 of that,
game.
100 of that.
Only enemy NPCs. You will not find any quest givers in towns.
That's fucking nuts. So there's no NPCs in the entire game.
Whoa.
What the fuck? That's crazy.
Huh?
That sucks. No. Like, to
That's
me, it's
interesting.
like, if you want to try a new idea, I'm all for it.
True.
Because the odds are it's going to be fucked. And people are going to fuck it even worse than... Think of the worst it could get fucked, and they're going to do worse than that. But you know what? I think you should try it. Because there's usually a couple of good things that you get out of each of those games.
That other games can learn from and inherit into their
That's
games.
just not what this game is doing. To quote directly here, they say you won't find any of the traditional MMO NPC cities, NPC quest givers, or NPC vendors in the world, but you will find a wide selection of creatures and AI enemies in PvE. Players will inhabit the lands, build the towns, handle the trading, do the crafting. All of that is player driven. No quest givers, however, does not mean no quest content, as the world will be filled with lore and mysteries that require exploration, deduction, and collaboration. Or when it comes to how that actually plays out in the game, you're gonna get quests from different items in the world.
Yeah.
So maybe you find some clues scribbled on a book or inside of a ring or carved onto the surface of a piece of pottery. All of these will provide you a narrative drive, but also objectives to go towards based on whatever it was you found.
Yeah, that could
The
be
exploration is
cool.
said to be a big element of PAX Day. I'm really liking what I see here. So they said that when it comes to venturing out from the safety of the Heartlands, the next area...
It's weird because like in single player RPGs with story, I literally want to be on the tracks, and then just is like pushing me in a direction to do like the right things and what I gotta do. And then there are other times, in like, a game, or at least for the first time playing it, where I want to explore and I want to like look at every nook and cranny and crevice and like discover things organically like that instead of being told where to go. But too much, there has to be some sort of direction. Otherwise, some players might just quit. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's probably going to be a video online you can find somewhere, and it'll literally give you like a step-by-step guide to doing things in order, so that you can, efficiently do these like quests, right, from the clues or whatever. And in this case, it might even be that you don't even need the clue if you know where to go. So you might skip a step and just like go to where the book tells you to go or whatever, right?
that you go into is the wilderness, and there does seem to be an implication here that there will be things beyond the wilderness. Maybe we think of these almost as
But like, you know how like in PUBG, for example, whenever you would get to the next zone and you knew that you got there before other people, and you would just sit there behind a rock, and then you hear somebody that's walking up and you're playing in third person so you can see them, and then you go like bop, and that's it. So it's like, again, whenever I see new games like this, I am super fucking excited for them for two reasons. It's a new adventure, and it's a new adventure to exploit the fuck out of. That's the fun part for me, is figuring out all the things that you shouldn't be able to do that you're gonna do anyway.
Different biomes, and the further you get,
it depends, because some exploits are really bad.
Or you move into the desert or other areas. I don't know, that hasn't been confirmed, but I'm just hypothesizing.
Some exploits are really bad in the sense that, like, you know, if it's like a gold exploit or whatever, it just like kind of ruins the game. Those are the ones you don't really want to do. So yeah. But there are cool ones that, honestly, depending on the exploit too, you probably can and will get banned from most games. but maybe you do it like a couple times and, not abuse it, but use it, right? And then you're like, oh, this is sick. Like, I don't know. I don't really know a good example, but maybe like like, I don't know. Let's say you figure out a way to like fly, and then maybe you do it like a couple times. You're like, you make a meme about it. You fly onto somebody and kill them maybe once or twice, and then that's it. And you don't use it again, unless everybody and their mother's using it. And then you gotta defend yourself, or just fly away. But yeah, you know what I mean. Like some of them, like the gold dupes, and that's kind of lame because that's just like breaking the game entirely, and it has an effect on the economy, which is very bad.
Yeah,
here,
sure.
there does seem to be the implication that there
new
is an
world to
area
exploit.
beyond
Yeah.
the wilderness. So in the wilderness, this is where things get more dangerous, more deadly creatures, and this is also where they're going to start playing with kind of the fantasy folklore inspiration. A direct quote from the developer here: "We don't intend to just expand outwards. More often than not, we want to expand inward, actually doing things like making dungeons deeper. So say that you've been playing for a few years and then something happens in
that's
the world.
cool.
Now you have a reason to go back because there was a door at the bottom of the dungeon that is now suddenly open, or an underground lake that is cleared, or a bridge that has been broken. Something changes and you have another."
I like that, and I think that's something that every game should do, because especially a game like World of Warcraft, the way that they kind of did it is by bringing mythic pluses to older dungeons, like Scholar Monastery or whatever. Not that they've done it yet, but they've said they're going to do it, right? And they've already did like Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, like those kind of dungeons, and they didn't add anything new necessarily, but they make you go back and do them for your Mythic Plus weeklies, and I think that's cool. So like, this is even cooler, where it's like, it's kind of like gating the content. They had content for you, and they just kind of just gave you only most of it, but not all of it. It's kind of cool because it gives you, it's like, oh, like what's behind that gate? Like imagine if WoW actually made the player created towns. Nope. Dude, can you not, man? This is Nemo. He's my rescue cat. But imagine they actually made the player base homes, and now that portal in Stormwind, where you're like, what does that lead to with the gate, is finally opened, and you're like, yes, now I can go there and actually make a home in Stormwind. That's cool. But they'll never do that. But I like, basically, TLDR, they have, these games have like so many expansions, and they have really a lot of old content that rarely gets used after the expansion, or the new expansion comes out. So giving it replayability, is exciting, especially for players who have been playing, or even players who haven't played, and you're giving them a reason now to go back and play and see those dungeons for the first time, and for the people playing it who have been playing it and get to go back. It's really cool nostalgia for the first part, and then that second part that you unlock is like a whole new instance, right? So
the reason to go back. This sort of,
I like that. I think that's very cool. I know people are question marking this. I think that's awesome. Like,
yeah,
imagine
I think that's
if
great.
in like Season of Mastery, like in BRD, where like you go in, and like if you take a left, there's a door you can unlock, and then there's that big fucking fire giant. I think his name's Baelgar or some shit like that, and he's guarding a massive fucking door.
His memory is
well,
good,
what if
really
in
good.
Season of Mastery,
His memory
you
is
could
insane.
open that fucking door, and there's a whole new raid entrance in BRD again. There's a completely new one. That would be fucking insane. That would be so cool. So yes, I'm very much in favor of these ideas. With no reward at the end. No, it'll be another TCG tabard. That's what you're gonna get.
Dynamic evolution of areas is really, really cool. It's something actually that they're talking about doing with like Ashes of Creation, where with time, with certain events that take place, things in the world can change. And so that one dungeon that you went to isn't always going to be exactly the same, and different paths can open up, or paths can be closed down, like bridges breaking or rubble falling in, or a lake emptying, and then maybe there's a dungeon entrance at the bottom of what was once that lake. I love this dynamic environmental stuff, and I think think there's a lot of potential of what
Yeah,
they can.
it's like you kill like for like, I think this be cool, right? It is so like imagine you're like descending into hell and there's like a fucking lake of lava. And then you have to defeat some fucking skeleton lord, and if you do that, he can chauffeur you across the lake of lava. Right after you defeat him and like free him from his eternal torment, he can go back to being the fucking like the like it's Charon, right, from fucking Dante, the fucking Inferno, but or Hades, right? It's the same fucking guy. I think that's completely possible. It's totally possible. It makes complete fucking sense. It would totally work.
Yeah.
Do with this. Also, in terms of export,
You can do it with raids too. Like, I mean, make up something like maybe Molten Core. You go and you kill Ragnaros, and then under where he spawns from is actually a secret door. There's a secret door. That's Nemo just stepping on my keyboard. Under the lava that brings you to a whole nother raid entirely, right? And it's just like this molten lava dripping from the ceilings and like all these like fire lords, right? And you have like maybe like the rest of Ragnaros' family that we never knew about, or something like maybe like one of the other elements, like an earth elemental, I guess like Gar, so you have like similar bosses that were in MC, but now they're new and it's a new environment just underneath, and it looks really cool. And it just adds an extra layer to that raid now, and replayability, more importantly.
They were asked if they were going to have a fast
It's
travel
cool.
system in the game, and they said
Because it is cool to go back and do like, there was the anniversary thing where you went back and did like Molten Core as like, level whatever, like end game dungeon, but it's way cooler when, there's also new content, not just replayability. Because I'm sure you guys are sick of it too. There's just so much content that they release now that just ends up being like vomited content of like, stuff that's already stuff of the past, and it's like, well, crap, like we kind of get sucked into playing it because we have no other choice. Like, what else is there? There's really nothing.
the game will
Bow
feature
before the
different ways
bald
to get
god, yeah.
around, but as with many other
Yeah,
parts of Patch
Asmon's
Day,
great.
there will be limitations and trade-offs when using them. The goal is not to trivialize travel
What's up,
and
Zell?
the logistics involved, but to offer a way to play most content and join your friends within a reasonable amount of time. This makes me wonder if they're going to have some sort of public transport systems or some sort of traversal things, be it mounts or glider systems.
Probably.
World of Warcraft.
All that would be
ships that
cool,
come
by
and
the way.
go, airships.
All of
There's
it.
a lot of different things you
Should
can
do all of it.
Now, there are going to be survival elements in PAX Day.
But the problem with that is if there's no NPCs and it's all player based, and actually that wouldn't be a problem. It'd be really cool. You could have people set up, like travel as like a boat merchant or like a sailor or whatever, pirate even, and they would take you from one port to another, and that'd be really cool. So maybe every guild would have one of these people that would have a boat or ship, and would be able to transport people. That'd be really cool because there's not going to be any actual NPCs, right? So how can you have how do you have those systems put into the game? The answer is by having them be player based, and that would be really cool. But yeah, there has to be some sort of incentive for people to do it. Obviously, there'd be money incentives and maybe like piracy, where like they take on the one ship, and then the other ship knows that they're taking out a big guild maybe for a raid or something, and then I can't with this cat sometimes. And then they're like, all right, we're gonna go loot and pillage the ship. Maybe you get like gear from killing them or whatever. That would be really cool. Like any element of PvP in that scenario would be really cool.
Isn't going to be one of those things where you have to keep up your thirst and hunger, but there
Thank
will
fucking God. I'm so
I hate
sick
that
of
too.
games that
Yeah,
you have
same.
to keep up your thirst and hunger for.
Same.
The only reason why I tolerate it in Valheim is because the different things that you keep up your thirst and hunger with are tactical decisions. If it's just a red bar for health and a blue bar for fucking water and then an orange bar for sleep, miss me with that bullshit. Take it out of the game. Make it better.
True.
will be food and drink in the game,
chore,
but it
yes.
just appears
It's a
like that is
chore.
gonna
Yeah,
be
exactly
more
right.
Giving you buffs.
Nobody wants to do
Food
that.
maybe gives you health, and drink maybe
Valheim
gives
food's
you
a real
something like
choice,
more
'cause
stamina.
Valheim's
These
a
are
good
just some
game.
possibilities. There's also building. We've talked about this. Base building is going to be a thing. It's going to be a very
Yeah.
big thing because all of the buildings in the game will be player constructed. They've
That's
said they've
nuts.
taken cues from games like Valheim. That's a great inspiration. Valheim.
Thank fucking God. That's what I just said. It's a good game. Valheim's
I never played
building
Valheim,
was
but
fucking amazing.
everyone said it was a good game.
It was simple, it was clean, and it was great.
a fantastic
Simple is
game.
good,
I
though.
quite
No need to
enjoyed the
complicate
building.
things.
Could be cumbersome at times, but it was
Maybe like
nevertheless
later in expansions and stuff. But when you introduce a game, like first and foremost, you want the systems to be simple so that everyone can pick it up, understand it, and yeah, because you don't want people getting tired or confused, and then they stop playing the game because they just worked an 8-hour shift. They don't want to come home and start thinking about an intricate housing system or anything. So just make it simple, fun to play, and then if you want to upgrade it expansion by expansion, maybe a different story, but keep it entry level in the beginning. I think is great, or just forever, because that's not something that needs to be intricate or complicated.
addictive, and many
Yes.
of the 100 hours that I played Valheim were spent on just the base building, so there was some satisfaction to
Couldn't be me. Could not fucking be me. But I tell you one thing,
And
I
that's-
have every single
that's-
fucking weapon maxed
That's
out.
Psych. Psych is building a mega base in Valheim, I think, right? So some people do that and some people don't, but they're creators and they're game players. So look at Mario Maker. Not everyone makes a map, but everyone plays maps. So that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Level.
Not everyone makes games, but a lot of people play games. Definitely more than the people that make them. So
Every piece of armor, max level. Every boss, dead. Every trophy, obtained. My house, a square.
be had there.
There
They've
you
said
go.
that the building in Pax Day
You like what
looks
you like.
much
That's it.
like what we've seen in other survival MMOs. Building blocks effectively snap together, allowing players to build anything from a humble shack on their claimed plot of land to elaborate villages, complete with keeps, churches, which are evidently going to play a role in the Pax Days world as well, and even building up walls and fortifications. I really love this idea, especially...
It's like you could have a fucking raid and it'd be like a goblin castle, and you would need to make a battering ram to get into the raid, but you could only make a battering ram inside of a siege workshop, but you could only make a siege workshop inside of a castle, and you could only build a castle out in the wilderness. Like, that's how you do it. In my mind, I think that's the smart way to do something like this. I'm open to people telling me why it's wrong, but I don't think it is. I think it's cool.
knowing, because I haven't touched on this yet, but they're talking about worlds with thousands
it's better when it feels more natural to like go out and build it somewhere in the wilderness instead of like, oh, here's this like designated area that we've given for players to make their housing, right? Or just have like an instanced area where you can like decorate your house, and that is kind of lame. So
of players. They said 5,000 was on the low
Dude.
end. They're talking
Thank
about
God.
10,
get your
20,000
paws off my
players.
keyboard. Hey, this cat is crazy.
Castle out in the wilderness. Like, that's how you do it. In my
Dude,
mind,
I
think
have his
that's
bed
the
right
smart
here.
way to do something
Look,
like this.
see? Bed,
I'm open to
cat,
people telling me why
bed.
it's wrong, but I don't think it is. I think it's cool.
go in your home, buddy.
Knowing,
Come on.
because I haven't touched on this yet, but
Come
they're talking about worlds with thousands of players. They said 5,000 was on the low end. They're talking
Thank
about
God.
10, 20,000 players.
100,000.
Now, when you hear
million
that,
people.
though,
All
are they
going
talking
wrong.
about phased out players or all players
all
within
in the
one
same
like
place.
instance?
Yeah,
That's
all in
what
the
we
same
don't know.
place.
I should also add one big thing they've talked about with this game is that they're going to be
Remember, servers are technological limitations, and they add no function to gameplay other than making it worse. Servers suck.
Yeah.
doing a lot of this stuff cloud-based.
Wait, so that
if they're using the
it's gonna be
cloud,
the
if
cloud.
they're using server-side tech, then maybe that does mean we get player counts that high, but I'm not sure exactly
I'm
how
sure
that
they'll
is
do
going
the
to
one
play
thing
out.
that
But
no other
nevertheless,
game
yeah,
has
we got a
done.
full-on survival game, large
I'll
numbers
believe
of
it when I
players,
see
and
it.
we're going to have tons
True.
of crafting
Which, to
stuff
be
building
fair,
up
was
this
true with
world. It all
Ashes.
sounds really cool. Now, what about progression? They were asked about things like classes or leveling up and skill points and all of that, and their response was, there won't be any classes in the way you think about it. You won't choose one in the character creation and be stuck with that forever. But that being said, no classes doesn't mean no roles. There will be roles, but we don't have those
that's
full
cool.
details yet.
That's
They
kind of
can
like New World, I guess, in the sense that you can whatever weapon you wield is like basically the role that you assign yourself to. That's cool. Or it's the same as Final Fantasy, where you select a job, and that's the job that you're leveling currently, but it doesn't disallow you to make or create another job, right? Which is a class. So I like that. That's good.
the crucial element, though, that yes, this game will support the Holy Trinity. So tank, healers, support, DPS.
Thank God. Every game that doesn't support tank, healer, and DPS is fucked up somehow. And the games that don't still do.
Yeah, don't fix what ain't broken on
Like
that.
Lost Ark. Oh, there's no tank in Lost Ark? Well, why the fuck do you have a gun lancer then? Oh, there's no healer? Then why the fuck does everybody want to support for each group? Because they're fucking healers. That's
True.
why.
That Trinity is going to be a part of PAX Day. So a classless version
Base.
of this that's going to have the Trinity leads me to believe it's going to be gear-based. So depending on the gear that you equip, that's going to change if you are filling that tank role, that healer role, or that DPS role. I enjoy these systems. I actually really like how they do it in Albion Online. I think that's a good template of inspiration for how to build a classless system that still has the holy trinity of roles for players to fulfill. As to the...
I will even say that I think that it's relatively well done in New World. If you want to heal, level up your life staff, put on focus gear, put your points into focus, and play life staff. That's it, and heal. If you want to tank, put on your fucking...
I will say it's more annoying to collect gear with each different stat than like having all that in your inventory. I like retail WoW where they did like if you're let's say like a feral druid and then you want to go resto, it just changes the agility to intellect, so you don't have to have like multiple sets of gear and stuff, and maybe the secondary stats are a little different. But I like that a lot. I don't like having to like. It depends on the game really, but I don't like necessarily, depending on how you gather or collect gear, to get multiple different sets. It's like, it's annoying. Especially because then you have other people like, oh, this is for my off spec, and they'll just like need on your shit, even though that's for your main spec.
Sword and shield,
So, yeah.
put on constitution and strength, heavy armor, and go to work. I think that's good.
leveling side of things, they said that they don't have a global character level, but they do have skills, and those skills have a leveling system. Now let's talk about PvP and PvE. They actually described what their intention was for PvP without being too specific. So they said they want to make PvP feel more dynamic and more about social structures, roles, and positions of power in player form.
Thank fucking God. I am so sick of people trying to make MMOs a fair PvP experience. Thank fucking God. Nobody is going to take an MMO seriously for PvP. MMO PvP is a fucking joke. It's a joke every single game.
Oh, but you meaningful ways to opt in?
About it.
Can you opt out?
It doesn't matter. There's no prestige to it. Even the biggest MMO PvP games are irrelevant compared to even mid-level fucking actual competitive games. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Make it to where if you've got better gear and you got better stuff, you kill them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Done. You probably should have a little bit of scaling to where people that are new have at least a bit of a chance. Sure. But for the most part, better gear, better player, better person, they win. It's that simple.
Yeah, you don't want like what happens where everyone just goes tank and WoW and like you just can't even kill them because they're a tank and they can just self-heal themselves and you just like will die no matter what class you are. Then everyone wants to play it or like swap to tank spec and in world PvP just so that they're unkillable. Like that's annoying.
MMO.
static PvP
it's not
toggle
it's not
or
esport.
zone
Stop
restrictions.
trying to make
we
it
don't
Hey,
want
what's up,
PvP
Norm?
to feel like a separate mode and create a gap between PvE and PvP
Yeah,
players.
exactly.
PvP should be an integral part of the world and economy. We plan to offer players interesting and meaningful ways to opt in and dip their toes in PvP. The goal for them, they say, is to marry PvE and PvP together by offering opportunities for both to bring value to the party, be it facing the dangers of PvP or
This is probably not going to work, by the way. There's like a lot of people that play MMOs, like the kind of people that play MMOs to build houses don't want to go out and fucking on like some hunting party to kill people. Like in general, like those are two different audiences of people. And as long as you can allow them to exist, to coexist, I think the best thing about MMOs is that like in Final Fantasy, somebody can be a main and all they do is like blacksmithing or like logging and professions, shit like that. I think that is so cool. I love that. But the truth is that you have to have an ecosystem that supports that.
Yeah.
That's
kind of I mean that's kind of like I mean this is like TOS for WoW, but we have a guy who still plays the game and all he does is just work the economy, and he's like building up for even Cataclysm to like sell a bunch of stuff, and he's like he saved up on a bunch of like Tubu swords, which are like this like world BOE drop that he said is going to increase exponentially because they're gonna when Treyeangowls comes out for classic. So I mean, some people will literally play a game and just literally play it for the economy, right, or for professions, and not even for the PvE or the PvP. So it is cool to have that. And it kind of reminds you of back in the day. It was a Star Wars game. I forget the exact name of it, but it was like the first Star Wars MMO. And you had like medics or like doctors, and like there were just huge lines of like people waiting in line to like see this one person who had like the mega profession lord of that like profession. That was really cool. It wasn't like every Tom, Dick, and Harry had like that that grand of level or like all the schematics or whatever in that one profession. So it made the game feel really cool. But yeah. So I mean, if you can target more audiences for a game, you'll just have more people playing it. And whether or not they participate in PvE or PvP, it doesn't matter for you, especially a subscription-based game or even just a pay once and play forever game, because you end up making more money. So it's a win-win-win in that situation.
Players, the Heartlands will be restricted from any.
If you can get rich IRL, may as well in game. Yeah,
exactly. Will have
exactly.
various options
Why
to
not?
choose if and how.
Honestly, it's the opposite for me, where I can get rich in a game, but I can't get rich IRL. I need to reverse that.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. Somebody says, what is this
Backwards
here? You can't
thinking
mix them because people
for
don't
me.
like being able to having to do either. I don't think that any of these games should try to focus on attracting people that only want to PvP with no PvE.
Yeah, that's also fair.
Like that's just not a good idea.
You want people, you want
it's not
players to do
healthy
both,
for the game to
even if it's
attract
like a
player
minimal
base.
amount. You just want players to do both, even if it's like PvE hardcore, PvP a little bit, or PvP hardcore, PvE a little bit. Which is like kind of why WoW makes some of the PvPers in their game like do PvE content for like trinkets and stuff, right? Because then it makes them want to do. It doesn't force them because you don't have to, but it makes them want to do the PvE content for that like piece of loot. So
people that are looking for that out of it.
How much they are willing to risk in order to do so. So really interesting talk here. Clearly they're saying that they don't want to force people into PvP, but they also want PvP to not feel like it's completely divorced from the rest of the game.
And
again,
that stinks
This
too.
is an extremely hard balance to strike that almost no game does properly, and I would probably say almost no game does do it properly. And I think that they're going to need extensive, massive testing, huge amounts of time, like longitudinal studies to see exactly how people are responding to systems. Because truthfully, like people are going to do what they're going to what they're going to do, but the systems are what causes them to do those things.
Yeah.
To it, but a great example in my mind is what Albion Online does, where they have these very distinct regions that are all part of the main world.
Yeah, you don't want the systems to be shoved down the PvEers' throats, but you want it to be you know inviting enough or interesting enough to get these PvEers to PvP, so that there are just more people PvPing for the PvPers as well. Um, yeah, it just makes the game better. I mean, I think. But again, they could just do PvE or PvP servers, but they said it's all cloud and one mega server maybe or something like that. So I don't think they're going to
and
do that.
depending on where you venture
But it's a hard
into,
balance.
you
I don't
will
have the answer
know
for
if
it, honestly.
PvP is
But
going to happen, what sort of PvP, if it's full-on PvP, if it's loot dropping, if there's any sort of safety, if flagging isn't involved. There's some just very distinct borders to all of these things. So I guess I'm just going to be really curious. They did say they don't want to have a static PvP toggle or zone restrictions, but in my mind, those are the two main ways you do it if you're not trying to force people into PvP. So I don't know. I'm very intrigued as to
I'm
what
scared to click that link
intend
even.
to do with this. PvP isn't all there is. There is going to be PvE content in the game.
Is Twitch paying botters to like come on Kick and like spam weird stuff? Is that happening already? Yeah, in Mop or Wad, you were like forced to PvP to finish your legendary. Legendary. What were there legendaries in Mop or Wad? I thought it was. I mean, I remember Legion. There were legendaries, for sure. Maybe Legion. I think you're talking about. Um. Cloak and Ring. Oh dang. I don't know if I remember that. I don't remember. It's been so long. I have to look into that. I don't remember the Cloak and Ring legendaries in Mop or Wad, but you're probably right. I mean, yeah. I yeah, I don't mind. Like, I don't want like forced. Oh my god, where am I? Do I need to mod somebody? Yo, HP, do your job, brother. Do your fucking job. HP, do your job, man. Literally start doing your job. Please and thank you. Yeah, I could see them doing it. I don't mind like a little. It's not like really forcing because there were other alternatives. Maybe not for the legendaries like you're talking about in WoW, but as long as they have like alternatives, and maybe if they're not even as good, but they're just like okay, that's fine. Um, but yeah, it is nice to get because a lot of the PvP players, I don't know, I don't care the hot take, whatever. I think on average, PvP players are just better than PvE players, period. Like, even in PvE. Because you're doing so many mechanics, you understand all the other classes, you know the abilities they have, you know what to, you know how to juke, how to interrupt effectively. So that's like as complicated as it's going to get in a raid, right? Like, maybe you don't know like this one mechanic, but then you learn it, you know to juke it. Like, it's like PvP, right? PvP just makes you an all-around better player. So having those players in the raids makes raids just better. That's just how it is. But yeah, I don't know. This happened the other day where it was like a bunch of they didn't spam in the chat, but I had a bunch of people follow the stream like, and I got up to like 138 followers, but then they all unfollowed and then like it disappeared the next day. So I don't know. I guess there's a lot of people coming to Kick, and I don't know if who's paying bots to come spam or it's just one guy that has a botnet and just is creating accounts and spreading like whatever this is. I mean, this probably isn't as bad as the other stuff that I saw in another content creator stream, but we don't have to get into that. But yeah, sorry, let me just clear this up because, dude, I don't know why I gave HP mod. Like, he does not do his job. Literally doesn't do his job. One job, doesn't do it.
Quite a bit, actually. You're going to, of course, fight wildlife and then use various parts of them towards the crafting, maybe even food and drink. The PvE content is going to be getting more challenging as you push further and further away from the Heartlands.
I hope they have large-scale raids, like 20, 40, 50 people in the raid. I just think it's cool whenever there's a lot of people there fighting a dragon. I don't really care if it's hard or not. I just think it's cool. Like in classic WoW, you have like 40 people there and they're doing like molten core and it's like everybody's there.
Well, yeah, like if you're talking about like top PvPer versus like top PvEer, then the top PvEer is gonna be better at PvE. But like if you get like the average PvPer versus like the average PvEer, the average PvPer is gonna be better than the average PvEer at PvE. I've seen it time and time again. I've been playing MMOs for almost 2 decades. That's literally how it is. I've seen it every time. It's not always the case, you know, but generally speaking, that is the case. But yeah, if you compare the top of the top, well, it's like, yeah, I don't know. PvPers, they have to do a lot. They have to learn a lot. So it's easier to teach like a PvPer, like a mechanic, and be like, okay, just avoid that, or like stack for this. Okay, cool. Like than it is like your average PvEer, right? I don't know. Some like, and I'm not talking like at least like 1800 plus, right? Because like anyone under that, you're just like memeing, like you're not even like a real PvPer, right? So even arguably nowadays, people will say like if you're not like 2100 plus, you're just like not even a real PvPer. But yeah. What is yo, what are the bots are out today? Jesus.
That's, I don't know. I think that's cool.
I'm trying to do a video here, man. I'm trying to do a video here.
Like that's all there is to it for me.
As they've touched on, as you go deeper down into dungeons when they continue to expand them. And they have also confirmed we will be getting not only dungeon content, but raid content as well. So you might have got the assumption early on that this is like a primarily PvP focused game with the survival crafting stuff, but no.
I think
every good have a lot of content.
Every good MMO needs both. You need good PvE raids, you need good PvP. You need both. You just do. Look at New World. Didn't really have raids, had like dungeons, but I mean there's so many other things wrong with that game too. Like mages got nerfed before they even got like fixed. And like the devs who were making that game were two-handed axe and mace users, so they made that like really OP and nerfed mages so that they could like easily beat them. Yeah, there's a lot of bad things about that game. I remember logging back on for the new content, and I got in a group, and everyone was like, hey man, it's just better to play melee because like casters are just pretty much trash. And I was like, oh okay. And if you can't beat them, join them. You know.
For PvE fans that isn't just doing crafting. They also mentioned that the gameplay that they've shown is just work in progress. They're going to be doing some big overhauls to it. This is more like a proof of concept.
Yeah, using the top skill level, it doesn't apply to most players, and you know, you would think it's better to design a game based off of like the average player, you know, because the top players will still figure out a way to min max and make it enjoyable for them. Whereas like not every average player is going to be able to min max, and like if they can't do the hardest content, right, then they get sad and they stop playing the game because they don't want to feel like they suck, right? So it's about making everyone feel like they're good, but having like skill caps so that like the good players can be better, right?
Seen so far, which I think should also have us set our expectation as
which again, guys, like I know that some people are going to get sold on these graphics, but
yeah,
we've seen the Unreal.
This bot thing happened like yesterday, but it only got follows. No one said anything in the chat. So this is new. This is definitely new. Just keep deleting the messages because they're only posting once anyway.
Engine people make this, and there's some fucking 48-year-old designer with like a black t-shirt and white hair and glasses and like spiked up hair, and he makes this in like 13 seconds, and everybody is like, whoa. So I'm not gonna just completely lose my mind over the graphics, but it's pretty cool that we're coming into this new age where things look this nice.
Yes, I'm so over the old graphics. I know some games can't really provide those better graphics because, you know, actual small indie companies unlike, you know, Blizzard. And, you know, that I get it because they want to put that idea out there. But and then you just think of like that game and you're like, how much cooler would it have been if it was on like Unreal Engine 5 or just like way better graphics. So it's kind of sad because the level of entry for making games is like very expensive. So that's why usually smaller companies have to do that and like sacrifice on graphics. But you know, as technology advances, this will become you know, the the uh the industry standard, right? So this will be like bottom tier, but it actually looks really good, right? So hopefully the further we come along with technology, this will become a standard and it won't be like as expensive and more companies can produce games with quality graphics.
Game is in development, or even more so, how far away it is. And they did touch on this in their FAQ. They said there's no date for
Yeah, you
patch
can't
based
AFK. Do your
release,
mod. Do your
they
job,
know, they're gonna
man.
let everyone know,
Jesus,
and
you're
they're
not even doing it
currently
right now.
going
You're not
through alpha
AFK.
testing, which you
I'm
can
doing
sign
every
up
single
for right
one.
now on their
No, I
website.
think
I'm not
no,
surprised
actually,
that this game has
You haven't
so
done
much
one.
excitement behind it. I think there's a lot of really cool and interesting things. This pitch that they have.
I play Overwatch and man, I get annoyed when people bring up meta. I'm like, dude, I'm bronze. I don't have the skill for the meta no matter. Yeah, at that point when you're in like bronze, like people have to realize like, bro, you're trying to do like like min-maxing strats and you're in like the lowest tier ever. It's like at that point, the other team isn't going to be good either. Just play what you're good at and then you'll probably have a better time. Because like when someone tells you, oh, play this because it goes good with the comp, but then like you've never played that character, it's like you're bad with that character and then they just lose and they blame it on you anyway because they don't blame themselves for being a shit player and getting themselves out of bronze. You're like, well, next game, another loss probably. You know, I hate when there are people that like tell you what to do, because usually those players suck, and they just start that because then they can blame you for them having a shit game or like losing because they told you to play that character and then you sucked on them and they're like, yo, you sucked, or like they tell you to play that character, you don't play him, it's like, see, you should have played this character. Like I hate those kind of people. Oh man.
Of hey, we've got like a bunch of industry veterans, we've worked on MMOs, we're finally making the game we've always dreamed of. We've heard that a lot, and a lot of times that doesn't really seem to come to bear. We don't really end up seeming to get maybe what that lofty goal is, but it's certainly possible. And
League is a little different
I
in
think
that respect, where meta doesn't matter,
trying,
silver and gold, but it matters iron, bronze, and
keep trying.
flat. Plus.
Eventually, somebody. Will
Yeah, I
get it.
don't play League a lot, but that makes sense because it's kind of like Smite.
One real positive check mark
It
for
matters
this game is they have
to an
a
extent.
lot of really.
But in like the lower games, like I only know Smite, so I'm just gonna say, like I don't know, maybe Lee Sin is like the equivalent to like Bakasura. Bakasura is like one of those characters that you play in like the lower tiers because he can just get big so early on, and he just wrecks you early on. But like end game, like late game, he kind of falls off because he's super squish, and like has to auto you like a few times. So like. Yeah, he needs to like not be punished for that, which is easier to punish later on. But yeah, he can really snowball a game to your advantage if you can win early. So yeah, it's kind of like Lee Sin, I guess. But then like you don't want to pull those shenanigans against better players because they'll just take your jungle, they'll stop you from getting big early game, and then your whole advantage is like gone, right? So like yeah.
Good backing here. One thing that's been brought up a lot is the fact that they've made quite a bit in funding. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it's something like $30 million.
That's a lot.
Which is and isn't a lot of money, especially when it comes to developing an MMO, especially when you consider the length of development, typically somewhere in the ballpark of 5 to 7 years long. I'm imagining $30 million isn't going to take care of the salaries as well as all of the other expenses that are associated with development over the course of the next 5 years. And
I mean, if it takes 5 years, it's not a lot. He's right about that.
More funding will have to come from somewhere at some point, because a lot of the MMOs we know and love and play were somewhere in the vicinity of like $100 million to $500 million for the cost of development. So in that context, $30 million or so that like they've raised doesn't seem like that much money. But I'm not trying to down this. I just think it's the main point is it's still early days. There's still a lot to be worked on, most certainly.
But it will start becoming cheaper because things like Unreal Engine 5 are making games easier to be created. And I've been saying this for a lot now. Like you don't have to start from scratch. So like the reality is you're saving a lot of time, effort, and effectively money. Because I mean, look at Chat GPT. It can almost like correctly create Angry Birds, right? With a little help from an actual coder, and told them, hey, this is wrong. That's oh, you're right. And then like I'm sure the Chat GPT is learning off that, and then maybe he will be able now to create his own Angry Birds game, based off the feedback that he got from the actual coder. So, and if it saves that and remembers that, it's only improving. So it's the same with technology and Unreal Engine 5. Like it's improving and making game design and creation a lot easier. So yeah, like arguably a game would take like 5 to 7 years to be developed in MMO. Now it will take like, 3 to 5 years or 2 to 3 years, depending on the game, right? So it really boils down to, technology advances make things easier. You guys remember the calculator? How much easier that made math? And before, like back in my day, we couldn't use a calculator, right? But now it's like everyone uses a calculator for any math test. Like it's not even it's just like it's not even a question. Like you just use it, and like you don't have to use your brain. You just beep boop beep and fucking you're done. You just have to know how to use a calculator. So like this, you have to know how to use Unreal Engine 5, and you save money and time,
it
etc.
sounds cool. Lots of interesting promises, and we'll see how they all pan out. That's going to do it for this video, though. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.
Look, if they want to fucking alpha test this fucking game, all they have to do is just message me. And you want to know what's wrong with the systems? Give me and all the viewers the code.
Same.
We'll
give it to me.
We'll figure out what's wrong.
I'll do it. I need a game to play. I desperately need a game to play, especially if it's an alpha or whatever. I need something. Please, please, please. When do we play Smite? I'm probably never going back to Smite. Probably never going back to Smite. This can be real. That game is done for me. Dude, HP, you're not even doing anything, brother. He's literally not doing anything. I'm literally going to unmod HP because he's like the worst mod I've ever had in my life. Like, literally. He didn't even ban one. He didn't even ban one. Yeah, clearly there's something going on here where this is sabotage of Kick, trying to deface or ruin, Kick. But that's good. And let me tell you why that's good. Because that means they're scared. And that means they're going to try, and they're probably wasting money because you have to pay money for these services to get these bots to come in and spam. But they're using money for this, so they're scared. So that means Kick's doing something right. That means Kick is doing something right. So, like when I saw my first dislike on a YouTube video, I was like, that guy literally was so pissed off about my video that he literally took the time out of his day to press dislike instead of just not even looking at the video and just going to the next thing. He literally took his time to click, and that's how you know you're winning. That's how you know you're winning. So, I mean, this is a good sign because that means that Kick's doing really well. Because like you normally like if you're not scared of something, right? You just don't even bother. But the fact that they're bothering now and creating these bots to come in here and spam some fucking botting cartel bullshit, whatever. Like, who's the real bot cartel? When these are the bots coming in here spamming about Kick's bot cartel, but like, so where are these bots coming from? Not the Kick cartel, because why would, if the Kick bot cartel actually existed, would they really be fucking spamming in their own shit to tell you about it? No. So whose cartel are these bots from? I'm not going to point at any fingers, but I think maybe we have an idea. Maybe we have a little idea.
Yeah, we'll figure that out real quick. Don't worry about it. They just got to get the game ready.
Right, or it's self-sabotage, and they're just trying to push the agenda of, oh my God, look how bad these other companies are. That they're willing to do this, right? Some fucking 10 head shit. I don't know. Like, and maybe, just maybe, the Trainwrecks drama with all the Twitch streamers is actually a facade to get people to have Kick be created by Train and Eddie, and then they take Kick and make it like a great streaming platform and then force Twitch's hand to maybe, I don't know, like give their content creators more money. But from what we've seen recently, they're actually trying to give them less money by saying that, oh, your sponsors can gift you subs, which means that now Twitch is going to take half of the money that you get from your sponsors through the gifted subs. Top keck fucking lol. So I don't know if that's the case, but maybe these streamers are like, yo, do the Kick thing, and then like we'll like stay with them for a while. You promote, we'll have the fights back and forth. Kick will grow, and then we'll hop over to Kick once Twitch is done destroying itself. Maybe that's some like 20 head brain play, like bigger than the Trainwrecks, Mitch fake drama, right? Like, I mean, that would be such a massive play by Train that he is literally smarter than all of us and we don't even fucking realize it. And he pretends to be this like ape gang fucking gorilla head when really he's fucking the smartest guy alive. I mean, and it kind of makes sense considering how much money he's made from streaming and from, the gambling sponsor or whatever. I mean, this guy's a fucking genius. If that's the case, he's a fucking genius. Oh my God. I don't even want to think about that because then that make me feel so stupid that I should literally just turn off the stream and just never wake up again. Just literally fucking go to sleep forever.
And put it out there and let us play it.
Maybe that's the case.
That's it. Break the game for free. That's the fun part. That's fun. Like, fuck, man. That's enjoyable for me. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Trainwreck streams on Twitch, but he at the end of the day he still streams on Kick as well. He does like the Twitch stream to get people aware of Kick and everything that's going on, and then he starts streaming on Kick for the rest of his stream.
It's that,
but he has been doing both.
Like 10,000 people that are going to be beta testing a game like this. Somebody said in chat they have 22 employees.
Kick's an inside job.
Guess what? Those 20
you guys think it's self-sabotage?
It's the same as like in PoE. There's always something that's fucking broken that needs to get fixed. And WoW, there's always something that's fucking broken that needs to get fixed because you've got so many tuning knobs. It's so complex.
Well, no, the reason, I mean, now we're getting off topic of this video, but the reason they say the unauthorized accounts, they don't know, whatever, is because it's the same what happened with Twitch, because like this is like literally what happened in Twitch's infancy. Like they didn't care about unauthorized accounts and other shit because at the end of the day, it meant more, more accounts being created on the website. And it's kind of like Twitter, right? Whether it's fluff numbers because it's all bots or not, it still looks good and the value of the company is increased, right? So it's the same with WoW. Like WoW doesn't get rid of their bots because they're making more money from the bots. So like, they'll only target people who are like mostly the Brazilian accounts because the Brazilian accounts pay less for a sub, and they'll just make another account and make more money on that account like immediately. So it like doesn't make sense for them not to make another account. And even if that one gets banned, well, they've already made enough money to just make another account at this point from the account that they just created. And it's just like a never-ending cycle. But like, why would they ban all those accounts? Because they're giving them $15 a month. So like, is the incentive really there for them to ban them, or just keep them around and just hope people don't realize it, or like it's not bad enough that it's like a problem, right? And that's kind of and that's Twitch the same thing in its infancy, and Kick's maybe doing the same thing. I don't want to say that they are because I don't know for a fact. But yeah, I would say that even the moderation part of Kick, like it's still early in its infancy. There's so many other things that they have to worry about and focus on, like getting the Kick app up and running for the phones, like actually getting the website to run like function properly, getting like clips, more emotes, getting stream elements to connect with Kick so that you can have more interaction with emotes on stream for the streamers. There's way more important things like these bots. I mean, you just ban them and it's done, right? But at the end of the day, like, yes, it does inflate their numbers and it makes it look good for investors, let's say, that, oh, look how many accounts are being created, so that's the problem that they deal with last, right? Before like getting all these other things, up and running. So that's probably why they're like, oh, we don't know what's going on, whatever, because it's like, they want to, I don't blame them as a company. You want to milk it for as long as you can until you can't, until the milks run dry, right? Until the cow's too old and it's like, okay, we got to get rid of it now. But like, it's literally the platform is created like 6 months ago or whatever. So like, or, November really from what I understand, but maybe it was before that. I don't know. But I mean, it's still in its infancy. So you look at, if you compare it to other streaming websites, they had these problems and more. So, you gotta give them a little bit of leeway on that. But yeah, self-sabotage, I don't know about all that, but maybe that, I mean, that's big brain plays. It happens and but I don't know. I'm not going to claim to know because I don't have any of that kind of information to say that I know with beyond reasonable doubt. And that's just that.
It's impossible for them to be able to get every single one to come together. So
yeah, I would not recommend clicking that link because who the fuck knows what that actually goes to?
It's not necessarily
I don't know. I do not know.
It's not a condemnation if a game is not perfect on release. But I think that it's about how you adapt based on.
They know not enough people will quit to hurt the game enough to need to do something. Yeah, exactly.
As well. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, because like, especially with MMOs, it's like, whatever, you'll play it because like literally what else is there out there? So it doesn't even matter. They can do whatever they want. And it's only when like something like Final Fantasy, like WoW lost a lot of subs because everyone was like just playing Final Fantasy, and Asmon was streaming Final Fantasy instead of WoW, so all his viewers started playing Final Fantasy, that they like made Dragonflight, and Dragonflight was like kind of decent. It's still not like where we want WoW to be, but it's like decent enough to get players to like play again and then stop. But at the end of the day, they always know that they have the reoccurring players like myself and like some of my friends that will always go back and play the new expansion. And whether it's for a month or whatever, you paid baseline for the game. Maybe you got the deluxe edition, which is like $80, whatever, $90, and then on top of that, you paid at least 1 month for sub, right? So they made like $100 something off of each person. That's all in a day's work for them, and they'll take that any day. So it's really the way that these gaming companies operate. It all is based on the consumer and whether they purchase the product or not. Because you'll have these companies backpedaling so fast if you guys stop pre-ordering all these fucking games and shit and just give them the money before they even create the fucking games or the expansions. Because then it's like they hit a certain quota and they're like, hey, we don't have to fucking work anymore, right? It's like think about like a cop, right? Let's say they have a quota to get 30 tickets a month. Okay, the guy has 30 tickets. He's halfway in the month. Now he can just fucking chillax, bro. He's just on patrol. If he gets a call, he goes. But he doesn't have to pull anybody over. He can, but he doesn't have to because he's already met his quota, right? So it's the same with these gaming companies. Like they meet their quota for how much money they have to make to get, a profit on, the expansion or the game, whatever. And then it's like, let's just fucking party and get drunk now. Everyone stop fucking working on the game. And then you get a game like Cyberpunk 2077 where it doesn't come out till 4 years later and it's still bugged up the fucking roof because they made so much money from people pre-ordering the game that they didn't give a shit if it was good or not because they already got your money. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day. And that's what's upsetting about pre-orders. The best thing to do with pre-orders, and obviously they'll figure this out if people really start doing this, but you pre-order like the last day that you can, like the day before the game releases or whatever. And then you still get all the benefits, but you didn't give your money months or years in advance. Like I gave Star Citizen fucking $60 or whatever the fuck it was, and that game's still not out like 10 years later. Where's that money gone? It's gone. I may as well fucking shoved it up my asshole and fucking lit it on fire because that's where it literally went.
Get tunnel vision on an idea that we won't let go of even though it doesn't work. Oh, so I guess you work on World of Warcraft. Yeah, I'm aware of that. I've been very aware of that for many years now. Yes, and this.
Oh, you're leaving, Norm? All right, see you later, man. Thanks for coming by. Hope you feel better.
Is that they have the intended way that they want? They have like, well, we want this.
Yeah, this is wild.
Because we want this to.
The bots are going crazy right now.
Do this. Well, what if the people don't want to do it?
Yo, Zell, do you want mod? I think you'll do a better job than HP.
Whoa,
just gonna be honest.
I mean, but we want them to do that. Well, they don't want to do it.
If you're here and ready to report for duty.
And that's the difference. The vision is always very nice and cute. But the moment that vision hits an actual fucking player base, it had better be ready to change. Because if it doesn't, the game dies. You have to look at reality.
Dude, HP, you didn't delete one message. I literally deleted all of them.
Let's see here. And you don't have a game. Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. We don't want to do bounties. Exactly. Yeah, there you go. YouTube's new link policy that they want to implement? No, I guess I could look at that. Sure. This is a good video. By
New link policy?
Holy shit. I love these videos. They are great. I can't believe he got a sponsorship for Tower of Fantasy. This is just fucking outrageous,
Okay. God. We saw the video. Let me see if there's a... does he have the link to the channel? Channel? Oh, no. Editor. Video by... Oh. Okay. How did he do that? How the heck did he do that? So I have to learn how to do this? Because then I can just copy all his stuff. Because I want to give credit to Asmon as well. Okay, so let me... Hold on. Let me end the video and then do this.